Hey guys, what is going on, RedMaster, and welcome back to episode of Casting Conflicts for you. Today we've got a great match lined up, so without much ado, let's go ahead and jump right in to match number one. Alright folks, and welcome back to episode of Casting Conflicts here. This time got Tabbune. I always mess, I'm going to call him Tabb, just for the sake of me not butchering the end of his name. Going up against Allensis, of course. Very predictable decks from both of these two players. Tabb rocking the Viking Crusader, Allen rocking the Pirate Viking that he's taken over ranked in recent weeks. And joining me on commentary this time around, Tweakin'. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great, doing great. This is the first time I actually am going to see Tabb in a casting conflict. Not sure if he's been on here previously or not. It's just the first time I'm going to see him in a matchup, so I'm looking forward to it.
Right. Well, we can pretty much assume that Tabb is going for his traditional war party here. I mean, the colors are straightforward enough, and we can kind of see that the T-Rex Shaman, maybe unorthodox tools in the modern day and age, but back in the day, those were prime war party utility. So
and I can understand why he runs T-Rex in a war party deck, because you have the likes of Yarm, Ragnar, and once you get able to play war party, and we see it drawn right now, you're going to be able to push Yarm and Ragnar all the way up to his castle, pretty much guaranteeing that they're going to get some chain lightning effect. So, not a lot of people decide to run T-Rex, but in a war party deck, I can honestly see it being a crucial card because one, it can play defensively, it can kind of stall for a couple of turns, and on the turn side, it can be very helpful for pushing. And we already see a extreme push with Mystic Rats here.
That's pretty much, I was about to kind of transition into what Allen's running here. No stranger to the Mystic Rat combination that's been very successful lately as an archetype, or not really an archetype, but as just a staple in nearly every Viking deck popping up recently since we've launched this Casting Conflict series. It just seems like so many more people are picking up the Mystic Rat, and they do quite well for themselves too. Not really able to be stopped by a whole lot, and especially if you get it out early like this with the amount of setup you got on the board now, certainly a pain in the ass for Tabb, and especially seeing how he doesn't have the Lightning Blade. It's going to be tricky to get rid of all these rats, but we'll see if he can stall out long enough for him to pop War Party or get a Yarm out here.
He has some defensive plays with Frozen Storm, but with each Frozen Storm played, that's one less card, randomly might I add, that is gone for your deck. And, it could as well, it could take away his War Party deck, and that might be pretty problematic. We see a Lightning Blade go on a rat. It's going to take out the Lumberjack and the Frozen Pillar. He's going to be able to draw a Kraxus from that. And, as of right now, it's not looking too good for Tabb.
This might just be a quick cleanup. Might be a quick cleanup game for Allen here in game one. Not a whole lot I can see Tabb doing. He's going to bring out the T-Rex potentially.
I think what he's trying to do is stall as much as possible, take the next two turns to play Frozen Storm, and then coin into a Yarm.
Potentially.
If the Yarm doesn't get snagged or the metal doesn't get snagged, but it's going to be risk. It's going to be very risky.
I mean, all he has to do is essentially survive one turn and bank on two cards.
Coin it into a Yarm.
Yeah,
Yarm. I mean, honestly, if he Frozen Storms this turn and a Yarm and the metal survives, he could pretty much just coin into a Yarm and clean up everything. If Allen is, he's already saying GG. But Tabb's not out of it yet.
No, he's
Tabb's not out of it yet.
Right. I mean, he might see it as ending on the wall, but there is certainly a possibility. And with Allen running the initiative spam that he is, he's going to have a tendency to kind of maybe clog up the board a little bit here and allow a Yarm to get some big value. I mean, right here, theoretically, this would be nice Yarm value. The game wouldn't be over unless he had a goal.
No, I would play this. If he wants, he needs to play Frozen Storm here. Take the gamble. You're already down 13 health with a lot of units off phase. Might as well take the gamble on Frozen Storm. Have Allen, go aggressive, push more units, and you're going to pretty much clear up all these units with one big Yarm hit, and that's what he's going to do. And he's going to pretty much, and that's probably the best card to get rid of.
Maybe. I mean, I would like to see that also on board, providing him a little extra in terms of defense here to clean up things that might be able to survive.
Oh
God! I mean, no, he can't get to it. He can't. No, he has a spawn block. Yeah, I just saw that.
I was wondering because the turn before this, Allen had 5 gold, and I was like, oh, he could play Mystic Journey, and that would be the end of it. Well, is this the first spawn block we've seen in casting conflicts?
Yeah, first spawn block here, and it might end up being successful. I mean, Tabb can try and draw it out, but he can't summon anything, and that's gonna be the real problem here. If I mean, you saw he was tempted to kind of just surrender the matchup and throw it away, but
Hmm.
I, I guess
I
trying to
don't
hold out as long as
think
possible. The problem with the War Party, you've got no AOE to clear things off like this. Sure, you could
the
run
only thing you have
Luminaris, but
is arbiters,
yeah,
and that only clears up 1 unit, and that can easily be replaced. So
right,
and I
right.
don't even think arbiter. Yeah, yeah, no. Even if you do play War Party, you can't play Arbiter, so it's not like you can't pretty much clear it out. So in a War Party deck, if you get spawn blocked, that's pretty much GG. There's no way to remove any cards or any units from your spawn block. So and we saw it right here.
Right, right. Certainly an aggressive way to open up this casting conflicts here. But let's go ahead and go back to both players to see how they're feeling after game number one. All right, folks, and here we are after game number one. Alan, a very dominant performance here in game number one. Do you want to take us through that match? How you were feeling up against the Viking Crusader? What were your thoughts going into the matchup and whatnot?
So I know Tabbune plays a lot of War Party, so my goal was to just rush him as hard as possible. And I started off with the Rat King in hand. I eventually drew Mystic Journey, and at first I didn't want to play the Rat King Mystic Journey because I didn't have a second buff out. All I had was Blacksmith, but I knew I couldn't just wait to draw a second buff, so I played the Rat King Mystic Journey to start off. He didn't have any lightning. All he had was a pillar that I could take out fast, and then I pulled another Mystic Journey to spawn block him.
Hmm.
Right. Now, the spawn block, did you just kind of figure that once you achieve that, it was going to be game over? Like, was that just the instinct play to make there, do you think?
Yeah, he's running blue yellow, so he can't burn off any of the rats. So the only way he could have really dealt with that is if he could have pulled something and then yarmed, but he did not have that.
Right, right. And,
So
Yeah,
that's why I spawn blocked.
yeah, Tab. We were discussing around turn 7 what possible moves you could have made, and we were discussing how you could pretty much gamble because you're already down 13 health. You have a lot of units on face. You could pretty much gamble the game and play Frozen Storm, and then next turn coin into a Yarm and pretty much clear up all the units that are threatening face.
Wait, what
And
does
it
my
seemed
play
like
happen?
yeah, and it seemed like you were doing that. You played the Frozen Storm. It took out your Aryan Cultist, so you did have that turn 9 move, but that next play you got spawn block, and I was hurting for you, buddy. And we were mentioning that the only way that you could pretty much negate the spawn block was to play Yarm, but looking at your deck now, doesn't seem that you have any Yarm, so that was pretty much the writing on the wall once he
no,
got the
he has
spawn block
Yarm. I
down.
think you were meaning Arbiter.
Arbiter, that's right. I mean Arbiter.
Right. So, but I mean, Tab, going into the actual, the rest of the match here, what were you kind of thinking when you were looking at the Mystic Rats, looking at that color combination? What were you planning as kind of your way to handle that? You know, what was being thrown at you?
I mean, just as usual, stall the hell out of the game.
Right, right. I mean, like, were you thinking maybe to get Yarm out though as
Yeah,
quickly as
yeah, I
possible?
mean,
Just kind of stall out
yeah,
with T-Rex maybe?
yeah. I mean, I just want to stay alive and not get spawn blocked.
True, true. I mean, that was certainly something that we didn't expect either. Um, I, I'm
Yeah,
still
not
kind
very
of.
often do you
I mean,
see.
there's no way I'm
Yeah,
running an arbiter fight. The card just sucks in the party.
right, right, and not often do you see War Party being spawn block. This was definitely a first for me,
I
but
mean,
when you run the likes of blue green and you have Mystic
I mean,
Rats.
he drew both of his. He drew two Mystic Journeys with the
Yeah,
Rat King.
so when you have
I
that
mean, that is
and
pretty
you
much a high roll.
exactly when you have those type of draws, like it's pretty hard to counter that. You could only do so much, and it's still looking at your deck. You pretty much drew all the cards that I mean you have two Frozen Storms. You drew both of those. You had a T Rex. You had two versions of T Rex. You drew one of those. You had a Craxus. Drew one of those. So like, didn't see any hands of the Saint. The Wind Mage came just a little bit too late. You probably could have used that mid game to kind of push back the Mystic Rats a little bit to buy you another turn. It was unfortunate that the turn that you got spawn blocked, that was the card that you drew. You could have used that, two
Yeah,
turns
that would have
ago.
been super fucking useful.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, but
Yeah, if you had Wind Maged Frozen Storm on turn 7, you could have
Mhm.
had me with the Yarm later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
the turn
my Frozen Storm discarded the mates, I guess.
Yeah, the turn after you played the spawn block, his next draw was the Wind Mage.
Oh yeah, that that's
Hmm.
right, with that being said, I think we are ready to hop into game 2. So let's go ahead, guys, and jump right into that match right now. Alright, folks, welcome back to game number 2 now. Tabb rocking the Warlock Crusader against the Mystic Rats. And I'm feeling pretty interesting about this one because, of course, we see Headmaster, and that means we're seeing Red Yellow Awaken here. Tweakin, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, judging by the name of the deck, it said Awakening CON. So I wonder what the CON stands for. Um, but we're seeing, good early draws early. You got the Lumberjack, you got the Wizard, you got the Dark Bender for next turn. So that will help him defend with, the Rat Hovel being down. But, Allen with his hands, you're going to have a lot of global buffs. You're going to have a lot of Blacksmith, Fat Bards, Armory.
The
So
scary thing about
he
Alan's
knew
deck is that you can go from a clear board to 5 rats, maybe even more, in an instant. So,
exactly,
and that's what Tabb I think is kind of worried
exactly.
about, and that's what he's kind of prepping for here. We see Saris. I'm pretty sure he would like to see a Headwood in his hand. You just have that back pocket removal for those big clumps of rats, which is going to be, what he really needs to find here if he wants to kind of avoid Allen. He finds the Rite of Awakening, which is going to be a nice pickup in case he does draw
Hmm.
Headwood without the Saris. A nice little turn 6 combination there of Headwood right to kind of clean up the board if Allen gets to his Mystic Rats. That's another thing. We're saying that Mystic Rats is going to be what Allen goes with here, but again, going to be another thing if he draws that entirely. But overall, we're not
Right.
seeing it just yet.
Now, that was a great pull for Allen, the Wind Mage, because I would have been pretty confident that Tabb was going to sack the Wizard to take out that Rat Hovel, knowing how much Allen relies on the rats of this. Oh, he drew Blue Firebolt, so that, I'll go ahead and just take out that Rat Hovel.
Right.
Kind of just make it so he doesn't have a continuous way to keep spawning units.
Knock off the generation
You know,
because we know Allen runs the global buffs.
exactly. You're none of these units on the board I'm too scared about. Wind Mage, you know, he only does 2 damage. You have units with 5 health, 4 health, so not really worried about anything. He could save that Blue Firebolt for the global buffs that come out because he already knows Allen runs Blacksmith.
I
So,
mean, he just
he's
flashed
probably
us with a blue fire hovel. He kind of pointed blue fire in his hand and then noted towards hovel. So I feel like he does have that idea in his head. He's just considering whether or not to kind of commit to the play. Uh,
exactly. He might think that, well, if he plays an armory here, I'd rather take out the armory rather than the rat hovel.
so
1/1 rats I'll deal with, but the global buffs of
oof.
1/1 plus every unit, that's going to be a lot more dangerous. That was a horrible pull for
Yeah,
Allen.
low roll on the spectrum there. Saris with no awakening tools for Allen going to be a bit of a problem, but I mean, not something that he can't handle here. Um,
Exactly. At the
Probably
end
not
of the
going to be
day,
able to
it's a
use it though.
3/3 body. At
Yeah,
the end of the day, it's a 3/3 body. So
but Sunflower, an interesting pull on Tabb's end. I didn't really expect to see Sunflower in this Awakening build specifically. I know Tabb isn't a as frequent as of a ranker as me, you, or Alan might be. So maybe kind of seeing a bit of the age flash out from Tabb here,
uh-huh.
honestly. But I'm curious to see if the old will stand up against the new here, as we kind of look to see what Tabb does with his mages here. He's got options. He certainly has the ability to bring out Golem this turn, Golem right even, big, a little bit of a big boy-ish threat if he wants to go that route.
Yeah, Tab's hand's not looking too good. It stinks that he has to force the Rite of Awakening on the Golem.
Right.
But he's just trying to clear up the board as much as possible before Allen can play his global buffs.
Mhm.
I think Tabb, what he really needs to draw is a Headwood or a Dragon's Fire. If he runs
He
Dragon's Fire,
needs
he
that.
needs to get
He
rid of
needs
all
that
these
big
buffs.
burn. I certainly agree with you there. He
Yes,
needs that
yes.
big
We need,
AOE.
and there's the blacksmith. We see we're probably going to see a blue firebolt go onto that blacksmith.
Blue
He's been
firebolt.
saving it.
Oh
Oh,
God.
now you have options. You
No,
have
yeah,
Rat
Tarius just
Hovel. You
became
have,
the big problem. I would
yeah,
hit that with the blue firebolt ASAP. Pirate Viking, we know, is a deck that doesn't have the strongest of draw options, and when you give that to them in the form of Tarius off of a Matty pull, you don't want to leave that alive. And Tabb, yeah,
exactly,
he hits it, which is the proper move there. I mean, he forces Allen to keep that generation with the Rat Hovel, but that Tarius would have provided Allen with so much value if it wasn't properly
exactly,
taken care of.
exactly. And you do have an 8/10 golem, so you're gonna get a lot of value out of that. Allen only having not that much damage. You're gonna take out a 4/2 Elvish Thief here.
I would do it with a
Uh,
Dark Bender. Wizard connects with the Rat, and you can maybe move in Golem here. I don't like this, what appears to be a sack of the Dark Bender to take out the Saurus. Sure, it's a bigger body, maybe, but I mean, maybe that's the
but
idea here. Maybe he's
I
gonna.
think he's gonna set up a Mordok play. He's gonna bait a One-Eye Matty trade with the Dark Bender, which I'm pretty sure every ranked player would love that trade. But hopefully Allen sees what Tabb is setting up here.
I mean, but the problem is we know how much global buffs Allen, runs, and he actually looks to sack both of his range units here. I mean, one buff, whether it's Temple, Armory, or Blacksmith. Oh, I guess not. So Wizard's gonna
No,
survive. But let's say one buff could essentially take out both of Tabb's range units, which I think have been his big equalizers in this match so far. It would be a kind of a shame to
exactly.
see them go, unless we're setting up for a Mad King Mystic Journey play here, which is also very problematic. Looks like all Maddies have been cleared from the board, going into a meta leading into the Yenaroth play. Uh-oh.
Ooh.
So there
Now he's gonna
goes his
get no value
Golem.
out of the Mordok. So
Does
I'll go ahead.
bring out a Kraxus, though, which is another interesting pull for him.
I would play the Craxus, but more defensively. Maybe
Probably.
right behind the. Maybe
I wouldn't
you
throw it behind the
know.
castle. Would not throw it behind the
No,
castle.
what I would probably put it one above the castle to avoid all frozen pillars, and
Or
and
just not
set up
move
a
it.
Mordok play next play
Looks like we're just
because
not going to move it as of now. Looks
yeah,
like it's going to be connected to the castle there. And this does leave Allen with a free roaming Yenaroth to kind of do what he will with the board here. And probably going to see Rat
or-
King Journey. Yep, there it is. When Rat King goes
mm,
up that far, you know Journey's smacking the field. And it's going to be very problematic. I mean,
and
granted, he's
Yenroth.
got some good ways to clean this up. Mordok can generate some units here. Kraxus can pull some draws if he needs to. But yeah, not looking good for Tabb at the moment here. There's definitely some big bodies that are about to kind of crash into him here with the Yenaroth. All these small rats are going to push in for 2 damage apiece. It's not looking good for him.
Exactly.
Oh!
I'm
This might have just turned around. Headwood in hand, it could be big things. The problem is he has to survive another turn to use that combination to the fullest.
now. Do you want to take the draws now? Would you want to?
Nope, looks like he's not going
Yeah,
for it, which might be problematic. Or unless we're
yeah.
going to clear off Yenaroth.
We're gonna clear off Yenroth.
Oh,
Oh,
we got a hemorrhage.
I'm gonna put that on the blacksmith.
Oh, really? Okay, that's fair. And then yeah, fear, dark. Okay, so things that he would have maybe been able to use. I mean, fear for more draw cycle, but okay, I do agree with going for the Mordok play first. Then in that case,
Hmm. Yeah,
we'll see though. If
seeing the
Allen can
draws
buff
that
these
he
up, he
had.
can connect with I believe three of these rats at most. So if each one can do 4 damage, it's game over.
Uh-oh.
And it might be nope. Rats are connecting early, so unless we're trying to spawn block again. Which really doesn't make too much sense, especially for these colors. Alright, we're not going to go ahead and make another trade. We're going to get a Banshee, which, okay, can do some things, I guess.
Ooh.
I think if,
We need
if
big.
Tabb can work this,
We need big RNG here.
uh,
He's
The question is, does he go maybe Professor Wright to kind of give himself more gold to work with in case things go bad?
He's
Nope.
gonna
He's gonna
gamble,
risk it. He's gonna gamble.
and no, that's not gonna be enough. You're
No.
gonna
He
have that
needs
free
that.
rat there.
Yeah, that rat's gonna go ahead and connect for the final blow anyway. He was so close. He was so close, but ultimately not gonna be enough. I mean,
If
no,
if that
no.
no, if
The
that
Banshee's
banshee
up
was
top.
one, yeah, if the banshee was just maybe one step down or one step up, he could have spawn blocked his castle for one turn.
Right. But ultimately not going to be enough here. Allen's deck
Nope.
moving just a little bit faster here to claim himself victory in game number 2. And I mean, yeah, I think if maybe we saw Tabb pull those headwinds a little earlier, the tide of that battle may have changed. However, in the end, it's just tough when you see Rat King Mystic Journey. That's when we saw the tide really just shift again in that conflict, at least in my opinion.
Exactly, and the way Allen set up his troops, the turn before, Tab played the Headwood and the Headmaster, taking off the 2 spawn points. Tab was not able to play the Headwood up top and the Headmaster below. That way, he would have been able to trade with one of the two, either the Elvish Thief or the Bottom Rat, and then having that opportunity to now be able to spawn block with the Banshee. Do you
Right.
see what I was trying to say there?
Yeah. Yeah.
If he
I
was
got you.
able to play the Headmaster on one of the spots below, that
He would have
he
given
would have been
himself
able.
more room to actually sort of negate that entire
Exactly,
push rather
exactly.
than
That
being able to cut off the amount of push that he did. He left that small bit or fortunately that small bit alive, thereby, giving Allen the room to kind of end off the game.
Exactly. He would have been able to trade the Headmaster into the Bottom Rat, leaving just the Elvish Thief threatening castle, and then he could have blocked one of the castles with the Headwood, and then also use that Banshee in the top left corner to take out the space right above the castle, pretty much blocking off the Elvish Thief. But the way Allen set up his bottom 2 troops, blocking those 2 spawn points, didn't give the Tab the chance, and then that made Tab have to play both of his units at the top.
Right. Right. But overall,
So
a strong a strong match number 2 for both players. I
yeah,
think we should go ahead and check back with them, see how they're feeling after that last game. What do you say?
yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
All right, folks, welcome back. Game number 2 in the books here, and a solid 2-0 sweep for Allen going in or coming out of this match. Allen, how you feeling after that one when you saw the Warlock Crusader? Any other big thoughts going through your mind? Take us through that match.
So I made sure not to play too many units at once, because I knew he would just Dragonsfire it all. But I was surprised when I didn't see any Dragonsfire, and then I realized he didn't have it. At the very end of that game, if he had played his Headwood on the other side, he wouldn't have lost. But he was still losing by a bit. But it was a fun series, and I think if he had pulled a Dragonsfire, that would have been a lot closer.
I mean, we saw a semi-spawn block from you at the end there. Do you think if maybe the Headwood burst wouldn't have gone the way that it did, or Stars would have been able to be played on that bottom row, would we see a different result? Because we saw that sort of spawn cut off, and he wasn't able to kill off that final rat, which dealt the final blow. So was that sort of spawn blocking intentional your end?
So the spawn block, it did end up making it so he couldn't play the Headwood on the other side, but now looking back on it, it might have been smarter not to play it like that because I was going against Awaken and I should have thought of the chance of a Saurus play. But I figured if the rats were just cluttering up his spawn, it'd make it harder to kill them all off.
Right, right. And I guess going on to the other side with Tabb now, I want to mention something from the final, or at least ask about a portion we saw in the final moment here. You decided to go for the Headwood Saurus play rather than the Headwood right. Tell us about the mentality behind that. I mean, like, were you just not, were you thinking maybe where you weren't going to be able to use anything else anyway and just decided to risk it all on the Saurus? Or, I mean, how are you feeling in that moment?
I mean, I never really played with Headwood before, so I don't know how Headwood RNG works. I, I mean, it was just basically fucking YOLO Headwood.
Oh no. I mean, at least he's honest. I'm, we figured you were gonna get close if you managed to kind of take out those advancing rats the way that you were able to. And I think if there was just like that one instance of maybe Headwood landing on the proper targets or playing the SARS
Yeah.
Headwood properly, you probably wouldn't be able to do a bit more here. But I mean, hey, a YOLO play works too. We're no strangers to kind of taking those every now and then.
Also, I just realized I don't have Flamestorm in this deck for some reason.
Yeah, I don't really.
That would have helped.
I mean, you got Sunflowers, so I mean, hey, that's doing a lot for you, isn't it?
If I ruin the thing, yeah.
Oh God. But that's gonna be all from me. Twig, do you have anything for either player?
No, we just see, the new guns in casting conflicts pretty much taking a beating to the older players. So let that be a lesson to new players in casting conflict. Just because the old players kind of made their name playing this game earlier doesn't mean that we can't get beaten, and it doesn't mean that we're going to hold those top spots for long. We see Allen. I'm not sure how long Allen's been playing, but he's making a name for himself, and he's taking it to Tabb. I know Tabb. I've seen Tabb a long time and playing on casting conflicts, and I know he's a really good player. And seeing Allen just kind of just 2-punch killing Tabb in dramatic fashion kind of speaks to the ability of the new players playing this game.
All right. Well, quite a statement there, I guess, to end off this casting
Yeah.
conflict. So, with that being said, guys, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out to myself in the future to wrap up this video. All right, folks, with that being said, I hope you did enjoy this edition of Casting Conflicts. Let us know what you thought of the matches, leaving your thoughts down in the comment section below. And, of course, while you're down there, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Share with friends, of course, subscribe if you are new or haven't done so already. It is the best way that you can support us here on the channel. And, yeah, that's going to do it for me for now. So, until next time, guys, stay gaming.